I'm Sammy Iglesias, the composer and performer of the Four Seasons, which is my latest solo piano project. And I am doing this video to explain and break down like the entire process of what was the making of that EP. Now, I know this is probably going to be a pretty long video. So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm just gonna put everything one video, but you will be able to skip through the parts that you really want to know about on the description of the video. There will be time marks, so please go to those time marks or just watch the whole thing all at once if you want. So at the time I'm making this video, I am actually about a month, well, less than a month away from the release date. Today is July 24th, and the release date for the Four Seasons will be on August 16th, which will be 1 year from my previous release. It will be the 1 year anniversary from the Psalm 33 project, which was my very first official solo piano project that I made. This time, comparing this project, Four Seasons, with the Psalm 33, I must say it will be less improvised, since the other one was experimental, just improvising with a source of inspiration. This time it's way more planned and structured, which makes it more theme-based per se. Meaning that there's specific melodies that you will like remember, there's specific motifs that I have like crafted very, very intentionally, and I have really given some like thought to every single one of the main, like the themes of every season. So that's what I like about it. What should you expect from this project more like musically? What to listen for? First of all, this project, even though it's about the Four Seasons, which is a really interesting journey, it is still very under one style. This style is very sentimental. I call it dramatic. It is not supposed to be like ups and downs of emotionally speaking. Everything is very, very, I would say, abstract and just very focused in one aspect, one approach of the Four Seasons, instead of super contrasted moods or whatever. The sentimental mood is very mellow, is gentle, and I think one of the best descriptions that I've come up with is that it's very romantic. It's almost like if you were in love in every single season. Not with every single season, maybe, but during every single season. And I will explain how that manifests in every season later on when I break down the songs. Therefore, because it's very romantic all throughout, then it's very homogeneous. So you just listen with the same ears, with the same mindset all throughout, and you'll be fine. It does not mean that it's extremely the same thing. You will be able to see the contrasts in all the different elements and all the different, especially the themes. I really like the type of contrasting that I make here. And overall, it also feels like it's evolving. Like, first track to the second track, there's certain evolution happening, and then from the second track to the third track there's a certain evolution, and the third track to the fourth track. And however, even though the first track and the fourth track are the ones that are the most far apart, you can actually, when you reach the end of the fourth track, you can totally go back to the first one, and it really feels like a cycle. I was pretty intentional about that, and I made sure that it really feels like, again, homogeneous, the same year or the same life, the same universe in which you go in this cycle of the Four Seasons. And that can also be seen in the tonality, which I'm going to explain later. So, I will go into a deeper layer of detail of how every song, every composition was planned and actually came to existence. First of all, the tonality. I did plan out a little bit of the tonality as I went. So first, Autumn is in F minor. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. I just happened to compose Autumn in F minor. And then Winter, almost accidentally, was in also F minor. I wasn't even thinking that those two seasons would go, one after the other. But I was like, you know what? It's a fair, it's a fair feel, because like maybe like the colder times of the year, both autumn and winter, are similar, are siblings. Therefore, they're both in F minor. And good thing I don't really get bored of like listening to like the entire F minor of autumn and then going to the F minor of winter. I mean, I think it's contrasted enough that it's like, oh, okay. So on spring though, it goes to C minor. Spring, it's in C minor for almost no reason. Honestly, C minor is one of my favorite keys to write a minor in. So like I literally had the melody in my head someday, and the melody, those melodies always come to my head in C minor. I don't know why, but and then summer, that one was pretty intentional. Summer is in E flat major, which is the same as C minor. Technically, it's the relative key. So C minor going to E major, E flat major. Something really interesting about this is that autumn is not only in F minor, it is also in F Dorian, especially the intro. And the F Dorian technically is the same as, if you turn all the way around to summer, E flat major or C minor. So that is why from one piece to the other, there's some sort of connection, even though it's evolving and changing. So that is really cool. So the story of every composition is that, weirdly enough, how much was made beforehand and how much was made at the spot when I was recording it. And the answer is different, it varies. So autumn, as many may know, many that know my music since before, autumn has been composed for years, many years before this project. The first version of Autumn was composed by me when I was in high school in 2011, I think, or 2012, something like that. And I started perfecting it over time because people liked it so much that I needed an official version. I even made a score about it. It was even featured in the Trevecca National University Composers Forum this past semester, performed by Caleb Dinger. And so I have the official version. I have a really standard version that is very round and is very orderly. So Autumn, I would say, was 100% composed since before. Winter, however, came into existence, it's literally a theme and a bunch of improvisation on it. And so I would say it was 70% planned since before the recording session. So winter, I really I did practice many various things on the improvisation to know what kind of things I wanted to say. I really practiced it beforehand, and I knew the theme that starts and finishes with. So that's why I say it was 70% finished since before the recording session. Then spring. spring and summer, I had to intentionally, very, very intentionally compose them for this EP. When I decided that I would make this EP, I was like, okay, I am missing 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons, and so I better get on working. So spring, I was like, I really gave it a thought, and then that's when the main melody, the main head of this composition came to existence. So I was like, whoa, I really like this, and I can really make it work out as spring. But again, I was being careful that it maintained the whole theme, right? The romantic, sentimental approach of it. So, and I had to practice it because there's some interesting chords in that harmony that I planned out that actually takes some practice, even for a big hand like me. I'm talking about something that takes a lot of space on the keyboard. So from a certain point of view, I can say that spring was 20% planned. And summer was probably the most challenging to come with, because I just creatively was probably the hardest, because how can you make something mellow and just even dark sound like summer? How can you make something sentimental sound like summer? For me, summer is heat and just maybe like excitement and energy. And I was like, yeah, but I can't just go hardcore on like something really fast if I want to maintain the same line. Other people would have said that I should have done that, but nah, I didn't want to, and I knew that I could find a way to do both, something that maintains the approach and feels like summer. So, you may wonder why I am in this interesting outfit, and that is because this is the same outfit in which I recorded the entirety of the EP. How? Well, I am currently working in at the Carowinds amusement park in North Carolina, and the way I recorded the EP was in between shows. We do 5 shows a day. We have half-an-hour breaks, and this is the room in which I recorded that such inspirational piece. I am currently after the 4th show of the day out of 5, so I am really well. It's funny. This time I'm really getting. I don't know. I'm of course more exhausted, but I'm at the same time I'm turned. So yes, this is the room, and it was a very, very long process. Like, not long, tedious. A very, very tedious process to be able to figure out everything that was necessary to be able to record what I recorded. And that is what I'm going to break down now. Since at this moment I do not own my own weighted keyboard, which is something absolutely necessary to record something like what I recorded, then I actually found this keyboard that I'm pretty sure is property of Carowinds, which is a Yamaha MOX F8. It is a semi-weighted keyboard, and that actually was a challenge, because we're talking about extremely pianistic things, where really, really fine, truly fine technique, and a semi-weighted keyboard does not help. Of course, I instead of making it an excuse, right, I took the challenge to find the best way that I could like perform every piece successfully. Now, that said, it was a very, very tedious process. How did I record the EP? I recorded this through MIDI, so I ran a MIDI cable from this keyboard and I use it as a controller, and I plugged it into a computer, my laptop right here on the side. On my laptop, I used my DAW, which is FL Studio, and in that DAW, I went on that DAW and the internet. I went on an extensive search for a good piano plugin, a piano VST. Why? You may wonder, why would I look for another piano sound, another digital piano sound online if I already had one for last year's Psalm 33? The reason is that last year's Psalm 33's piano was 95% perfect. Honestly, like when I listened back at any point, I would hear some really annoying harmonics on the high end, and it's funny because like that, the bass piano that they use, I think might be the Yamaha piano, Yamaha Grand or something, actually has those annoying harmonics, and it's impossible to do any EQ that can avoid listening to those harmonics that are present in pretty much any key because it's in the resonance. So I spend days, I think weeks, trying to find a good piano sound, and every piano that I would find would have something troublesome. For example, I found a piano in FL Studio that is kind of hidden, that had the perfect sound and the perfect velocities or whatever, except for the fact that whenever you trigger one velocity, even with the pedal, and then you trigger a lower velocity, it overrides it immediately, and there is absolutely no way to turn that off. So that actually gave me trouble, even though I could have pulled it off, but no sir, I wanted it to sound like a real piano, like a legit piano. So looking for the perfect plugin, and all the plugins had something perfect until I found, I thought, wait a second, I own the Finale notation software. Finale has its own sound banks of slightly realistic instruments called Garriton. So I tried the Garriton piano on this thing, and that Garriton piano was just like, the best pianos that I had found, but slightly better. So I used the Garriton piano. Of course, I EQ'd it, I reverbed it, I compressed it, I did whatever, but I made it sound like I wanted. But that was not only enough. It took me a while to figure this extremely complicated keyboard to work, and to change the velocity sensitivity, because since it's semi-weighted, then the velocity is kind of way too sensitive, it's very light, and I needed something with, heavy. So it took me a while to figure out how to change the sensitivity, because it's a very complicated interface. But I changed the sensitivity. Also, I had trouble figuring out the height in which I felt more like comfortable to really play like if it was a real piano. It was so many factors. So many factors. Also, changing between these headphones and the Sennheiser's HD210, I think. So many factors, but once I had the perfect sound, then I started tracking. It was hard because there is this ambient noise of the AC in this room. There's people coming and going, so I had to really focus, and that was not enough. So I was quite not inspired, especially for like the general interpretation of autumn or even spring. So what I did was that in my laptop, when I would hit the record button, I would go to my browser, my internet browser, and pull up images of whatever season I was doing. I would. Why? Because this room is not inspired at all, inspiring at all, unless you wanted to do something more hype or more, I don't know, urban. But something that is based on nature, something that is based on the beauty and feelings, this is hard. This is not very inspiring at all. So I had to pull up these images, look at the images, and try to transport myself to those places and try to like get feelings from that. So I did that with almost every single season. I don't think I did it for spring. But I remember that one of the things that happened with summer is that whenever I would pull summer, there would be a bunch of pictures of the beach and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know, I don't feel, the beach is not very sentimental unless you want to like do a different turn that I didn't want to make. So then I had to decide that instead of beach and heat and all those normal concepts of summer, I would try to imagine that summer, a sentimental approach of summer would look like a prairie. Yes, a prairie full of flowers, a field where everything is just, even though it's hot, it's peaceful, and you're enjoying the summer, especially if you're on vacation. So that is the inspiration that I had for summer when it comes to the visual, and that all happened in a little screen on a computer here. And actually, absolutely all the movements happen in this room, in between shows of swing music and postmodern jukebox covers. So yeah, that was actually the making of the Four Seasons. Is this very room, very unorthodox, very not inspired. But I pulled it off because, I don't know, I guess I knew I could somehow. And yeah,